Hello and welcome. This is the story of Reka, a woman who faced heartbreak, judgment, and rejection, but through faith, resilience, and love, she found hope, joy, and her own miracle. It's a journey of strength that reminds us all, no matter how dark it gets, light always finds a way. Once upon a time, in a valley cradled by rolling hills and bordered by lush fields of golden maize, there was a village called Zirama. This land of breathtaking beauty was as vibrant as it was steeped in tradition. For all its beauty and charm, the village was bound by traditions that left little room for deviation, especially for its women. Here, a woman's worth was often measured by her ability to bear children, and the pressures of these societal norms shaped every aspect of life, casting long shadows even in the golden light of Zirama's maize fields. Among its inhabitants was a woman named Reka, whose beauty and kindness had once been the pride of the village. Her deep brown eyes sparkled with a warmth that could soothe even the most troubled soul, and her gentle smile was a balm to those in need. Years ago, Reka had become a symbol of selflessness when she transformed the life of a young widow on the brink of ruin. Left destitute after her husband's death, the widow had been on the verge of losing her farmland. Reka, seeing her plight, rallied the women of Zirama to cultivate the widow's crops, ensuring her survival. This act of compassion earned Reka admiration and respect, but such deeds were soon overshadowed by a shadow that loomed over her own life. Reka's life, once filled with promise, had become a series of heartbreaks. Despite her virtues, one fact had turned her into an object of whispers and scorn: her barrenness. In Zirama, where motherhood was seen as the pinnacle of a woman's worth, Reka's inability to conceive was viewed not merely as a misfortune, but as a curse. Her first marriage was arranged when she was barely 20, and for a time it seemed like the beginning of a joyful new chapter. Jide, her husband, was a successful trader who adored her beauty and gentle spirit. Their early days together were filled with laughter, dreams, and the hopeful anticipation of children. But as months turned into years and Reka's womb remained silent, the whispers began. Jide's family grew restless, their smiles replaced by cold glances and veiled accusations. By the third year, the tension in their home was palpable. The once loving Jide, unable to withstand the relentless pressure, began to withdraw. "Perhaps it is not meant to be," he muttered one night, avoiding her gaze. Not long after, he left, shattering Reka's heart and her faith in love. Her second marriage to Kunle, a farmer, offered a fragile hope of redemption. "I'll stand by you no matter what," he promised. But even his resolve faltered under the weight of Zirama's judgment. Within 2 years, he too walked away. By the time her third husband, Adebayo, abandoned her, the whispers had turned to open mockery. "She's cursed," some said. "What use is a woman who cannot bear children?" others sneered. Even the village children, in their innocence, sang cruel songs as Reka passed by. Her once radiant smile vanished, replaced by a sadness so profound that it seemed to dim the light in her eyes. The fields of golden maize, which once symbolized hope and abundance, now felt like a cruel reminder of what she lacked. But Reka was not entirely alone. Her grandmother, Mama Kemi, stood steadfastly by her side. A devout woman with an unshakable faith in God, Mama Kemi was known throughout Zirama as a prayer warrior. Her strength, born of her own trials, was a beacon of hope for Reka. "Reka, my child," Mama Kemi often said, her voice steady and resolute, "God's timing is perfect. Do not lose hope. We will pray, and when the time is right, He will answer." Though weary, Reka clung to her grandmother's words. Together, they began to fast and pray, their nights often spent crying out to God. Mama Kimi anointed Reka with oil, laying hands on her and declaring the promises of Scripture over her life. While Reka sought solace in faith, the villagers of Zirama remained entangled in their own perspectives about her. On the surface, their whispers and judgments seemed like a collective condemnation, but underneath was a patchwork of fears, insecurities, and cultural rigidity that shaped their behavior. Amaka, one of the loudest voices of criticism, often led the charge against Reka. "She's cursed," she would mutter under her breath, her words carrying like a breeze through the marketplace. But her cruelty stemmed from a deep, personal pain. Years earlier, Amaka had suffered a string of miscarriages that ultimately drove her husband to leave her. She, too, had felt the sting of judgment. Yet, instead of finding solidarity with Reka, she projected her bitterness onto her. If I had been given her beauty, her kindness, Amaka thought, perhaps my story would have been different. Not everyone shared Amaka's harshness. Damilola, a younger woman, often felt uneasy with the way Reka was treated. Though she lacked the courage to openly defend her, she quietly admired Reka's strength. "Do you think we're too harsh on her?" Damilola asked Amaka one day as they shelled groundnuts by the fire. "Too harsh," Amaka snapped. "She has no children, no husband, no purpose. What use is kindness if it doesn't bear fruit?" But Damilola hesitated. "Maybe kindness is the fruit," she murmured, though Amaka dismissed the thought with a scoff. Even among the elders, opinions on Reka's worth were divided. Elder Boma, a staunch traditionalist, often used her as an example during village gatherings. "A woman's legacy is her children," he proclaimed one evening as the villagers gathered under the baobab tree. "Without them, her life is like a barren field, empty, without value." Elder Ifeoma, however, challenged his views. A widow who had lost all her children to illness, she had long since rejected the idea that motherhood was the sole measure of a woman's worth. "Boma," she said, her voice steady but firm, "not all fields are meant to yield crops. Some provide shade for travelers, some shelter birds, and some hold seeds for a future season. Do not be so quick to judge what you cannot see." Elder Ifeoma's words stirred unease in some villagers, planting the first seeds of doubt in their hearts. But change was slow. Many found it easier to mock than to examine the traditions that had shaped their lives. Reka felt the weight of these judgments every day. Yet amidst the ridicule, there were glimpses of kindness. Damilola began greeting her warmly at the market, offering small gifts of produce. Elder Ifeoma stopped by one afternoon with freshly baked bread, her visit brief but comforting. These small acts of grace, though fleeting, began to chip away at the isolation that surrounded Reka. It was in this atmosphere of tension that Reka experienced her dream. In it, she stood in a golden field, the maize tall and swaying gently in a warm, fragrant breeze. The air shimmered with light, and a voice, gentle yet commanding, spoke to her. "Reka, your season of joy has come. Be still and know that I am God." When Reka awoke, tears streamed down her face. The vision had felt so real, so vivid, that she could still feel the warmth of the light on her skin. She hurried to tell Mama Kimi, who listened with rapt attention. "This is no ordinary dream," Mama Kimi said, her voice trembling with emotion. "The golden field, it is a sign of growth and renewal, and the voice of God Himself. Child, you have received a promise. Hold on to it, no matter how long it takes." But holding on to hope was not easy. The days after the dream were filled with small tests of faith. At the market, Reka overheard women whispering. "She's had another dream," one said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Maybe this time she'll dream herself a miracle. Reka clenched her jaw and walked away, her heart heavy with doubt. That night, as she and Mama Kimi prepared dinner, she voiced her frustrations. Mama, why does it have to be so hard? I want to believe, but their words, they cut so deep. Mama Kimi placed a hand on Reka's shoulder. Faith is not easy, child. It is like tending a field. You plant the seed, water it, and wait. You don't see the growth immediately, but beneath the soil, God is working. Reka nodded, though her heart still ached. Over time, however, she began to notice changes, small, almost imperceptible. Damilola's greetings became more frequent and her smiles more genuine. Elder Ifeoma began including Reka in conversations, asking her opinion on village matters. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep Reka's fragile hope alive. Shortly after her dream, Reka met Sei. Their first encounter was brief, a polite exchange at the well, but something about his presence lingered with her. Sei, a humble farmer who had recently moved to Zirama, had an air of quiet strength that drew others to him. Over time, their paths crossed more frequently, at the market, during community gatherings, and on evening walks through the fields. One evening, as they strolled along the edge of a maize field, Sei broke the silence. Reka, he said, I've heard the stories people tell about you. Reka stiffened, bracing for the judgment she had come to expect, but Sei's next words surprised her. They're wrong, he said simply. What I see is a woman of strength and grace, someone who has endured more than most could imagine and still stands tall. Tears filled Reka's eyes. You don't think I'm cursed? Sei stopped walking and turned to face her. Cursed? No. Tested? Yes. But what I've learned is that the strongest trees grow in the harshest soil. Their bond deepened, but their relationship was not without challenges. Amaka, upon hearing of their courtship, sneered, Let's see how long this one lasts. Even Elder Boma questioned Sei's decision. Why would you tie yourself to a woman like her? He asked one day. You're young. You have choices. Sei remained steadfast. I have chosen, he replied calmly, and I will not be swayed. Despite the whispers, Reka and Sei built their relationship on a foundation of prayer and mutual respect. Together, they dreamed of a future filled with hope and possibility. 1 year into their marriage, Reka began to notice changes in her body. At first, she said nothing, afraid to hope. But when the village healer confirmed her pregnancy, she fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The news spread quickly, and the village was abuzz. Amaka, once her harshest critic, was the first to approach her. Reka, she said, her voice trembling, I was wrong. I judged you without understanding. Can you forgive me? Reka studied Amaka for a moment, then embraced her. We all carry burdens, Amaka. I forgive you. The transformation in the village was slow but undeniable. Elder Boma, who had once declared her worthless, stood before the community and said, Let Reka's story remind us that no one's worth is defined by what others see. The children who had once taunted her now sang songs of joy outside her home. Even the maize fields seemed to glow brighter, as though nature itself celebrated her miracle. When Reka gave birth to a son, Emmanuel, the village erupted in celebration. Mama Kemi, frail but radiant, cradled the baby and declared, This child is a sign of God's faithfulness. As Emmanuel grew, he embodied the compassion and wisdom of his mother and great-grandmother. He became a unifying figure in Zirama, inspiring others with his kindness and resilience. Reka's home became a haven for women facing similar struggles, and her story became a symbol of hope and faith for generations to come. Thank you for joining this journey. If Reka's story inspired you, Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories of hope, faith, and resilience. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that light always finds its way. See you next time.